Organizing and decluttering my phone, computer, and my digital life in general is just as important to me as keeping everything else that way. I think that there's this common belief that having super sophisticated methods of decluttering and organizing are always the most effective, but for me personally, the opposite is actually true. Like most things, when it comes to my digital organizing, the simpler, the better. So today in this video, I'm gonna go over some super simple things I've done and do with my digital areas to keep them clutter-free and organized. But first, if you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. Here we talk about minimalism, frugal living, tech, and things of that nature. So if that sounds good to you and you end up liking the video, be sure to like and please invite the subscribe button to go see BTS. But when you actually get to the gate, tell them you never bought tickets. Let's get started. And I'm gonna go in the order of what I feel like is the simplest, albeit still effective ways of staying organized, starting with the first way, which is treating my home screen like a to-do list. Basically, I just started looking at it as sort of an extension of my physical desk. I wanna either put it where it belongs, or if it's a task, take care of it as soon as I can. Any screenshots I may have taken or documents I quickly saved to my desktop are either deleted or put into their corresponding folders. I know this may sound rather insignificant, but it really just is a good way for me to go into whatever I'm about to take care of with a clear head. Or maybe I'm just easily distracted, or both. Ultimately, I recommend just being a little more disciplined when it comes to what stays on your home screen and treat it as more of a place where things that need to be done temporarily stay, aiming towards having a completely clear or almost a completely clear home screen. The next thing is keep names and titles simple. And this is really where I believe in the idea of not overcomplicating names of files and folders. I'll show a little bit of how I actually name my folders later in the video, but I rarely, if ever, name folders anything other than the year that those files are actually created. It might be my own problem for getting easily overwhelmed when files and folders have super long and specific names attached to them. But keeping the names as short and as simple as possible has helped me be able to find things I need quickly, as well as knowing exactly where things need to go without creating an entire new folder for them. I found that when I used super specific names, when I wanted to organize photos based on a trip I was taking or a fun weekend I had, these folders quickly stacked up and I found it actually being counterproductive towards my digital organization. I want to quickly thank my friends at 1010 for sponsoring this video. I worked at a grocery store for 5 years up until 2022, and I would have done anything to get the partially remote job that I have now. Because honestly, I would have preferred schooling that was training me for a specific job. And if I knew about 1010 at the time, I would have just signed up here rather than my traditional schooling that I did. 1010 offers flexible, beginner-friendly online boot camps with one of the highest graduation and employment rates in the industry, with 82% of their grads getting hired in 6 months or less. They offer programs like data science, UX design, and cybersecurity, where if you don't get a job when you're done, you get 100% of your money back. They also offer unlimited externship opportunities even after graduation. You can get started for $200 a month, which is way less than I paid for traditional education that didn't guarantee me a job, nor did I ever even use. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description box to get a free career consultation. I'm telling you from firsthand experience, switching careers isn't magic. It's just a little bit of work, but it's definitely doable. It's possible to leave a job you feel stuck in for something that pays better, gives you more flexibility, and actually aligns with your interests. So thanks again to 1010. Now back to the video. The next thing here is have a monthly photo dump and review. I found that emptying my laptop and my phone of everything at least once a month is really the sweet spot for staying on top of my digital organization. And by everything, I really just mean photos that I want to keep or screenshots of maybe things I need to remember, like important documents. Because I really don't take a ton of photos on my phone nowadays anyways. They're mostly just of the cat, of course. But about once a month or so, I'll just sit down and delete things like duplicate photos or screenshots that I temporarily needed. And when I'm down to just the things I want to keep, I'll move those to my backup hard drive into its corresponding folder. Which, if I were to do that today, it would just go into the 2025 folder. I feel like what puts most people off from doing this is already just having thousands of photos or text conversations in their phone and maybe feel a little intimidated to even get started. But I do feel like when I started doing this, I was a lot more selective about the photos I decided to take and keep, and just staying on top of this task once a month has really helped me keep my digital areas clutter-free for the most part. If I'm decluttering photos off my phone, I literally just plug my phone into my laptop, open up image capture, and move all those images to the corresponding folder on my backup hard drive. The next thing here is don't over-organize, reduce instead. The concept of reducing instead of over-organizing is exactly why I save photos into folders of years rather than months within the year. For example, when we went to Portugal last year, I had a ton of photos to offload my phone. I just put them into the 2024 folder rather than a dedicated February 2024 folder. Because I felt like just having a folder dedicated to every single month of every single year was overcomplicating it a little bit. And I personally just prefer to see the entire year as a whole if I wanted to go back and browse through these images. And I know I've primarily talked about doing this with images, but I do the same things with screenshots and important documentation as well. I mean, I literally have a folder that's just called documents. And in my head, I know what's in here is medical related or just some other important form of personal documentation. Of which, if I had more, I might consider creating a little bit more of a sophisticated system, but I've never had any difficulty finding what I need, just keeping it like this. Batch tasks. Batch tasking is definitely something that requires a little bit of willpower, but is so important for me when it comes to staying digitally organized. When I set up my laptop to do a certain task, like responding to emails or paying bills, I make it a point to basically do as much as possible in that time. Instead of sitting down to quickly respond to something I just remembered I had to do in that moment, I have some time intentionally set aside where I'll sit down and go through everything I need to and respond one by one. This means I'm pretty much always going into my digital workspaces completely caught up and with a clear to-do list, which naturally frees up a lot of time later in the day too. I've also noticed that doing this helps me minimize decision fatigue because I'm never choosing what to do next or planning when I should do something next, but instead taking care of all those digital tasks in one sitting. Keep a note for brain dumping. I actually just thought of this and just started doing this only a few weeks ago, and I found it heavily reducing my digital clutter. I basically allowed myself one note where I just write down either ideas, things I want to or have to remember, and just things I don't have a dedicated place for yet. In other words, taking a big digital dump. I personally use the Notes app for this, but of course, any similar app where you can write anything down will work as well. And I realize that this is the exact opposite of organization, but that is the purpose of this note. It's a space where I can allow myself to be completely unorganized and work as a temporary digital catch-all that I come back to later. For example, when laying in bed at night and I come up with something that sounds like a really good idea at the time, I'll just jot it down here, only to look at it in the morning and realize how stupid it might have been. So in a way, it also works as sort of a filter before it moves on to one of my permanent digital folders. I definitely recommend having this note or just some random document you have quick access to for brain dumping to see if it has any effect on how you organize the rest of your digital space. These are just some of the most effective things that I'm currently doing to keep my digital areas decluttered and organized. Also, if you're interested in any of the wallpapers you saw in the video, I have a link for my wallpaper store down in the description box that are all completely free to download. Anyways, as always, I appreciate the time you spent here and I appreciate you watching. If you did like this video and you like this type of content, be sure to like and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you next time.